Break Sports.
All right, guys, welcome back to episode 4 of Lunch Break Sports. I'm your host, Joey Sherman, and I'm here again with Reed Benos.
What's up?
And so we're going to start with a little recap of what happened over the last week. So the first game was Patriots against Broncos, and going into that, I was hopeful that the Broncos would win, but wasn't very confident at all considering they were starting their backup quarterback, Jarrett Stidham. Now, he actually surprised me in the beginning because he had a bomb pass and they scored pretty quickly, and the Patriots did not score. Can you check who the pass was to, Reed?
It was some Marvin Mims, Jr.
Marvin Mims, right? And that really kick-started them to what I thought was going to possibly be a victory. But Jarrett Stidham fumbled the ball, which I'm not even sure if that was a fumble to begin with. And unfortunately, the Patriots did end up winning that one and are headed to the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, it was a much better game. It was Rams against Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying that should just be the Super Bowl right there. Just have a best of 3 with the Rams and Seahawks because they're always the best games. And, yeah, we saw JSN go crazy. We saw Sam Darnold look very good. We saw the defenses look good. And Puka Nacua almost got out of bounds on that last. They were down, They were down a score. Puka Nacua catches the ball. He tries to get out of bounds. He gets tackled right outside the out-of-bounds line. Game's over. If he's able to get out of bounds there, the Rams get a Hail Mary attempt. And, I mean, I'm not putting anything past Matthew Stafford throwing to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams in the end zone. I mean, anything could happen there. And there's a theory going around that, have you seen the picture that NFL posted at the beginning where it's like
I've seen that.
Drake May and Sam Darnold at the beginning? I don't really buy into any of that stuff. Also, the Super Bowl logo theory where it's like, oh, it was every color, so you could find the 2 colors. Like, that doesn't really, it's just stupid, in my opinion. But I was surprised with, JSN's performance. I mean, he's been that guy, but he's kind of slowed down recently. And to see that production continue in such high stakes is very promising if I were a Seahawks fan. And I really think that all of the Jets fans out there are and should be rooting for the Seahawks, like, Sam Darnold, like, even though he did leave, that's our guy. I mean, we got pieces out of him when we traded him to Carolina, which, I mean, looking back, it wasn't a great trade, but Carolina didn't even keep him in the end, like, I mean, I would love to have Darnold back. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but, yeah, I'm rooting for the Seahawks. I actually met Sam Darnold, if you know that, Reed.
Really?
And I caught some passes from him. So did the rest of my family. Yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's very humble, and as a family, we were disappointed to see him go to Carolina, but, I great wishes for him in the rest of his career. Now, speaking of Sam Darnold, our debate is going to be who messed up more by giving away Sam Darnold, the Jets or the Vikings? Now, who do you think messed up more? Because there's 2 sides of this. The first side is that the Jets, they drafted him with the 3rd overall pick and didn't really give him any weapons. I mean, his best receiver was Robbie Anderson, who was an undrafted free agent. He was changed his name like 3 times. Like, he hasn't really had a great receiver like Sam Darnold had with Garrett Wilson, or a great running back like he had with Breece Hall. He hasn't really had the help that he has deserved, to be honest. But on the other hand, the Vikings, they won 14 games with Darnold, and you have McCarthy, but I mean, McCarthy, he hasn't looked very good at all.
No, not at all.
He calls himself 9 or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Who do you think messed
I
up
definitely
more?
think the Vikings messed up way more because the Jets, they didn't know Sam Darnold was going to be this good. He wasn't very good on the Panthers, so they couldn't have known. But the Vikings, McCarthy, he's inexperienced. He got hurt his whole first season, and I just definitely think the Vikings messed up more on this one.
I'm going to go against you here. I personally believe the Jets messed up more on this one because you spent a 3rd overall pick. You trade up to get him. You traded up in the draft, with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, who was the other quarterback? Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold. These 5 guys out of college looked like they were the top 5 QBs. And you trade up. There's 5 quarterbacks. 4 of them are higher. Lamar Jackson's a little lower. But you trade up from the 5th pick to the 3rd pick just to get that quarterback. I mean, if they would have stayed their position, they probably would have ended up with Josh Allen, but they trade up to get him, and they proceed to give him really nobody. They didn't have any good weapons. It was really disappointing to see. I mean, they tried to give him Le'Veon Bell, but Le'Veon Bell was just bad. He was really bad. They drafted him in 2018. He stays 2019, 2020. I mean, he's got a couple years there, yeah, but I don't know. I like to see my young quarterback before I jump away. I like to see him fail with a good situation after multiple years. And he had multiple years to prove himself, and he failed to do so. But I would have liked to see what could have happened if they got him an actual, help on that side of the ball. But yeah, I mean, it's still up for debate. I think the Seahawks really found something in this guy, and I'm really impressed with what the Seahawks were able to do. The fact that they gave away Geno Smith, who was playing pretty well for them, and it was like, Sam Darnold, come over here. We're going to give you some money. Prove it. Prove that you're an actual quarterback. And they were completely right with that bet. Like they were 100% in the right there, and it really paid off. And now they're in the Super Bowl. And I think a lot of people think the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. And you can hear my predictions in the next segment. Thank you, Reed.
Yep.
All right.
It's time for some playoff predictions.
I'm here for my next segment with Michael Kreyman.
Hello, guys.
And right now we are going to be predicting the games. And we've been predicting for the past 2 weeks and have been pretty accurate. And so for the Super Bowl, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to predict the winner and also 3 smaller predictions. And so, Michael, who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
I have the Patriots, actually, looking back to how the season started, nobody believed in them, and they made it all the way here. So I have the underdogs going into this one.
All right, I'm going to take the team that everyone knows is really talented. They have so many great players: Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kenneth Walker. They have great tight ends, great plays, great offense, great defense, great special teams. I mean, I'm just going to take the Seahawks. They've looked really, really great this season, and I would be surprised if they choked this one away. Now, for the smaller predictions, my first one is Jackson Smith-Njigba is under 120 receiving yards, but he does get a touchdown for the Super Bowl. That's my first prediction. Now, that's because I know last week he had a huge game. He looked really explosive, but recently, I know in that first round of the playoffs where they won 41-6, I believe he had 19 receiving yards and a touchdown. They really don't need the guy. And if this is the type of blowout that I'm expecting, I don't think Jack Smith-Njigba is going to get over 120 receiving yards. However, I do think he will end up in the end zone. Michael?
So my prediction is that the Patriots will actually get a turnover. Turn over the Seahawks in the fourth quarter.
Okay, and will it be an interception or a fumble recovery or a blocked kick?
I think it will be an interception.
Okay. Now, for my second prediction, I have Kenneth Walker gets a touchdown. Now, throughout the season, we've seen Kenneth Walker get 80 yards, Zach Charbonnet get a 2-yard run for the end zone. Right? We've seen him do all of the hard work up the field and then they give Zach Charbonnet the touchdown. But the thing is, Zach Charbonnet is out for the season. He's not playing. We've seen Kenneth Walker take a bigger role, and I mean they've given it to Holani, but I think in the Super Bowl like this, you can't rely on your third string running back when your starter is completely healthy and thriving as a player.
My next one is Drake May throws over 300 yards. I think the Seahawks are going to be like, yeah, it's an easy win and all that, but I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to who really wants it, and I think the Patriots want it. And this is Drake May's game and why people think he's going to be the MVP.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty valid. And for my last one, I know I picked the Seahawks, but this is actually a Patriots prediction. I think each of those two running backs, Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, they're either going to get 80 yards or a touchdown. I think that the Patriots are going to try and the underdogs are going to try and get crafty, get creative, get a little crazy with their plays to try and trick the other team, like try and confuse them and come away with this win, because I think if they play this matchup 10 times, the Seahawks are going to win more than the Patriots will. They have to put some together here. And I think that, Ramondre could break off for 100 yards and Travion gets in the end zone like he always does. Or Travion gets a 135-yard crazy game and then they give it to Ramondre at the goal line, Like I think that both of these guys are either going to have a meaningful touchdown, or they're gonna have a huge running game. What's your last prediction?
My last prediction will actually be for the Seahawks. My prediction is that Najigba will catch 2 touchdowns.
Really? And yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think Najigba might be the most improved player, and he's top 3 wide receiver with no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of college, out of Ohio State, we knew this guy would be special, but we didn't really realize how special this guy could be. He's really exploded this season.
Yeah, I think the reason why the Seahawks are very good is not just because of their defense and Kenneth Walker, but it's mainly also because of Sam Darnold and Najigba's connection.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much, Michael, and we'll see who's correct.
Yep, thank you.
Everybody's favorite segment, which is worse?
All right, I'm here for my next segment with Ben Winter. It is everyone's favorite, which is worse.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the 2 worst plays of the AFC Championships, the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. Now, first of all, we have Jarrett Stidham, who nobody expects to do anything, come into this game. He's slinging the ball wherever he can. I mean, he throws that bomb to Mims, and they're up 7-0, and they have the ball. I mean, this is where they could take control of the game and actually make it to the Super Bowl. Except he panics. He runs back and just tosses the ball by his feet, fumbling and giving them the ball in the red zone. And that eventually, it was a huge play that led to their demise,
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like it's more early in the game. I feel like it's not a horrible play. It's definitely a mistake, but, there's still a lot of game left. It's not a game decider right there.
Also, you kind of expected it.
Yeah.
With Jarrett Stidham.
No one really came into the game thinking he's going to be a starting, great quarterback.
It still really hurt, though. And the second play we have is, although it didn't cost them Super Bowl, it almost very close to causing them Super Bowl. Tariq Woolen on 4th and 12 taunts the Rams bench and gets the unnecessary roughness, or the taunting.
Yep, taunting. That's a horrible play.
Horrible, and he just gives them another set of downs. I mean, you can't do that if you're a professional player,
Especially in the NFC Championship, man. That's the biggest. That's the biggest, second biggest game of their career, of his career so far. I mean, that's the biggest game.
Yeah.
You can't make that decision. That's not the choice.
Yep. And so, which one do you think is worse?
Definitely the Tariq Woolen taunting play. Yep.
I'm gonna have to actually disagree with you there.
Really?
I'm gonna go with the Jarrett Stidham play, because
Really?
they had so much momentum, and he completely killed the momentum, and that game kind of got ruined because of that. I mean, they could have not easily, but they could have definitely won that game if not for that play,
Possible, but the Patriots defense is a great unit somehow. I'm not exactly sure how the Patriots are so good, but they do it.
So you have this play, the Tariq Woolen play. We have to compare that to this season's which is worst champion, which I know you have a problem with as a Vikings fan. You're gonna come here and defend Max Brosmer, and I'd like to hear it.
Max Brosmer, pick 6. Now that play, not his fault. He's a rookie quarterback going up against the best defense in the league. First play ever, and he just tried to escape the pocket. He kind of threw the ball away, which is of course not the greatest play. Try to get that out of bounds, but I think it was 3rd or 4th down. I think he had a man in the end zone, and it just ended up not going the way he wanted. So I do not think that's the worst play of the season.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you again. I mean, he was right next to the goal line, and I mean, it's not just that he threw the ball underhand, and not just that he threw a pick at the end zone. He got pressured. He threw the ball underhand, gave it to the other team. They took it back to the house for an 86-yard pick 6. I think it easily clears both of these plays, and I think the Jarrett Stidham play is pretty close, but I just think it's just one of the most comedic, bad, awful, terrible plays I think I've ever seen in my life.
Now I understand that, but you gotta factor in he's still a rookie. He's young. He's not a starting quarterback. He's a backup. He's our 3rd string quarterback. You don't really expect starting material out of him.
And so now that only the Super Bowl remains, I believe that unless something crazy, terrible happens in the Super Bowl, I think I'm going to have to crown the worst play of the year for the Which Is Worse segment as Max Brosmer's underhand pick 6. I think it's just such a terrible play that I don't think I could give it to anybody else. All right, thank you so much, Ben.
time for some hot takes.
All right, I am here for my last segment with Jude Ornstein.
Hello.
And this is going to be a new segment. This is going to be Hot Takes with Jude. Now, I have searched online for some hot takes. I have asked my peers for some hot takes. I've had some hot take submissions. And I am going to take the 3 most interesting and best hot takes that I've received, and you are going to tell me if you agree with them, if it's a valid take, or you think it's just awful.
All right,
All
let's
right.
get it going.
The first one. If you take Josh Allen off of the Bills, they are a 4-win football team. Now, do you agree? Think it's a valid take, or do you just disagree completely?
I can see where that take is coming from. Josh Allen is definitely a big part of the Bills' offense. Definitely a strong quarterback. However, I think there's much more to a team than just the quarterback. And in football especially, like, teams don't fully, like, the quarterback is a big part of the offense, but teams can survive without a good one. You've seen it many times. I would even say the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold's not the best quarterback. He's no like MVP quarterback.
No, he's not, but he's good enough,
He's good enough to take a good offense to the Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
that with a good defense, it gets him some good wins. So I can't fully talk about how many wins they would get, but I still think that the Bills would be a good team, even with a lesser quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
than
that's a
Josh
fair
Allen.
argument, like, considering the take that was submitted, like, if you think, does this mean that they completely remove Josh Allen and they just had to run their backup, or do they get, like, a Sam Darnold type guy in there? Because, yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold was good enough to, cruise through the playoffs, get the first seed, absolutely destroy the 49ers 41-6 in the second round of the playoffs. It was an absolutely atrocious game. For any 49ers
we don't
fan.
really need to talk about that, but
Yeah, for context, Jude is a 49ers fan. And Ben, for the last segment, was a Vikings fan. So I'm just, getting the truth out here, But, so do you agree? Do you think it's a valid take, or do you just think no?
I'm gonna say invalid. I'm gonna have
Okay,
to say invalid.
I see where you're going there. Okay. Next take. Jackson Dart deserves Rookie of the Year due to his lack of wide receiver play and still turning Wandale Robinson, somebody who's not nearly anything close to superstar, into an 1,000-yard receiver.
I'm gonna say valid. Jackson Dart is definitely a good quarterback. Watching some of his highlights, he's definitely a good player, and I think he's made a lot out of his offense that has not performed in previous years, and I think he's a really good player and definitely deserves that.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves something, He's taken this. I mean, they haven't really won many games, so I don't think he's going to get Rookie of the Year, but he's certainly shown out, and I can see where somebody is going with that. So I think the valid is the correct one.
Yep, agree.
And the last take, the Titans have the worst uniform in the NFL.
This is actually something that I fully disagree. I
Fully disagree,
I
wow.
love the Titans uniforms. I love their colors. I think, I have a background in graphic design, and I think that their uniforms colors go together very nicely. And, to throw out maybe the worst jerseys, let me think for a second here.
Well, I know from being a Jets fan, we had the old jerseys from 2029 to, like, 2023. They were, like, 2019 to 2023. And they were, like, super, like, hype, like, futuristic looking, and nobody really liked them. I mean, I kind of was a fan because that was, like, kind of the jersey, like, I grew up with, like, as I started really getting to Jets fandom, like, that's what they were wearing. But I could see now why people didn't like them. They're, like, too futuristic looking. And I think that's a complaint with the Titans jersey. I mean, it's, like, too sharp edges. Like, the colors are kind of nice, but I kind of think
I
they're
like the
ugly.
colors. I like the look of the jersey. I'm gonna have to say, the Falcons have the worst jerseys in the league.
Wow. I think, yeah.
I think
that's-
black and red on a jersey just, I don't think it pops as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a decent jersey, and I especially think the retro jersey is nice. I don't really like the logo of the black retro jersey, which is a hot take in itself, but I do think it's a
Right.
nice looking jersey.
All right.
All right, thank you so much, Jude.
Of course.
All right, see you next episode, guys.